Today we're going to take another look at Seymour Simon's Animal ABCs, the photo essay that we did yesterday, but today we're going to take a look at some different things. Now, readers can do some things to help them understand what they're reading and remember what they're reading better. One of the ways to access complex text, to understand things that are difficult, is to classify and categorize things to find out how they're alike, make connections to help you remember details. You can also compare and contrast things. You can take things that you know that are familiar to you and look at things that you don't understand all the way or that are unfamiliar to you and compare them, tell how they're alike, or contrast them, tell how they are different to help you understand a new concept better. Another thing that you have to understand when you're looking at harder things to read, like this one, this is a long one, is the use of repetition. Sometimes a writer uses the same words over and over again, repeats themselves to emphasize a point or to create a sense of rhythm, or even to just make the text fun to read aloud. So this text definitely has a lot of repetition. Text features such as punctuation are also important to understand when you're reading. You need to know the difference between a sentence that ends with a period that's telling you something, a sentence that ends with a question mark that's asking you something, and a sentence that ends with an exclamation point that conveys a lot of strong emotion or feeling. So in order to understand what you're reading better, those are some of the things that you need to know and that we'll take a look at as we go ahead and reread our story. A is for alligator. A baby alligator hatches from an egg. B is for bear. A polar bear cub stays close to its mother. Polar bears live in the Arctic, where it is very cold. Now, this is a good time to stop and think about classifying and categorizing. As we read, we can group information in the text that's alike. This selection presents information categorized with the beginning letter of an animal's name. So that's one way to think about them, what their letter their name starts with. Another way that we can think about or categorize animals is where they live. And that's kind of what we're doing in science with all of our different slides, different habitats or environments. We can think about where an animal lives in order to classify them. C is for clownfish. A stinging sea anemone is home for a clownfish and her babies. D is for deer. A baby deer or fawn will lose its white spots when it grows up. E is for elephant. Elephants are the largest land animals in the world. They travel in groups called parades. F is for ferret. Ferret kits love to play. Would you like to play with a ferret? I don't know. G is for giraffe. A newborn giraffe is 6 feet tall, as big as a grown-up person. H is for horse. A foal runs alongside the mother horse on the day it is born. How old were you before you could run? All right, we're going to stop here and we're going to talk a little bit about punctuation and the different types of punctuation that you see. All right, let's find the sentence that ends with a period right here. A foal runs alongside the mother horse on the day it is born. That sentence is just telling you something. It's telling you that a foal runs alongside the mother horse on the day it's born. Let's look for a sentence that ends with a question mark. There it is right there. How old were you before you could run? All right, it's asking you a question. It's asking you to think. And you're kind of comparing, the author wants you to compare, like, how old were you? You were probably a lot older than a day before you could run. So it's asking you a question. And let's find a sentence that ends with an exclamation point. An exclamation point right there. A newborn giraffe is 6 feet tall, as big as a grown-up person. Okay, so we're saying that with a lot of excitement and a lot of wonder because, wow, a newborn giraffe is as big as a grown person. That's kind of amazing. And as soon as they're born, they're that big. I is for iguana. Iguanas use their claws for climbing trees, where they rest and eat leaves. J is for Joey. A baby kangaroo is called a joey. A joey stays inside the mother's pouch for most of its first year. K is for kiwi bird. A kiwi bird does not fly, but it does have a wonderful sense of smell. L is for lion. A lioness carries her cub by the loose skin on the top of its neck. M is for monkey. A baby monkey rides on its mother's back as she jumps from tree to tree. N is for narwhal. A male narwhal has one long twisted tooth. Some people say the legend of the unicorn began with a narwhal tooth. All right, this is a good time to stop and kind of classify talk about classifying and categorizing. As we read, we can think about the ways we can group the information in this text. And one way to classify and categorize is where they live, we've said. And you can see that some of these animals live in the ocean or grasslands or jungles or forests or deserts and so on. So we can think about how these birds are alike. We can also classify them by their characteristics. So an iguana has scales and claws. A kiwi bird has feathers. Kangaroos have pouches. And kangaroos, lions, and monkeys have fur. So we can start to classify these animals by how they look too. O is for otter. A mother otter swims with her pup riding on her belly. P is for penguin. An emperor penguin father holds his baby on his feet to protect it from the cold. We'll stop right here and just talk about the use of repetition, repeating themselves. Now, the authors use often repeat words to emphasize an idea, a feeling, or an action. So listen carefully as I read the first sentence on pages 20 and 21. Tell me which words are repeated. O is for otter. P is for penguin. So when I read those two sentences, what two words are repeated? Is and for. Is and for. Is and for are repeated. And that's a pattern that the author uses to introduce each new animal. And he uses this pattern not just on pages 20 and 21, but he uses them through this whole book. Q is for quail. The quail and her baby sleep during the day. They come out to hunt for food at night. R is for rabbit. A rabbit mother may have as many as 10 babies, called kits, in one litter. S is for seahorse. The father's seahorse carries hundreds of the mother's eggs in his pouch. Once they hatch, the babies swim away. I wanted to stop right here and talk about this word pouch. We've already seen this before when we talked about the joey. A kangaroo has a pouch, and the joey stays inside the mother's pouch for most of its first year. Well, a seahorse dad also has a pouch, and he uses that pouch to hold the mother's eggs before they hatch. So, did you know that a seahorse had a pouch, kind of like a kangaroo? T is for tiger. Tigers are an endangered species. We need to make sure that there are safe places for tigers to live. U is for umbrella bird. The umbrella bird's call sounds like a big drum and echoes loudly through the rainforest. V is for vervet. A vervet monkey uses its hands, feet, and tail to grab onto branches as it swings through the trees. Okay, we'll stop here really quick for a little compare and contrast. Let's compare the umbrella bird to the penguin. Well, they're both birds, right? But they look very different because a penguin doesn't fly. They walk on the ground and they swim, and the feathers are a little shorter than you see in that umbrella bird. They also live in very different places. A penguin can live where it's really cold around the South Pole. And where do umbrella birds live? Well, if you look, most of them live in the rainforest, right? In the rainforest. So they live in different places. So even though they're birds, that's what makes them alike. They have a lot of characteristics that make them different. W is for wolf. If a wolf cub can't see its mother, it howls in answer to call her. X is for X-ray fish. X-ray fish swim alongside each other in an aquarium. Now, we could also take a look and see how animals compare and contrast to each other by looking at the fish on page 29 and comparing it to the clownfish that we saw way back on page 8. They're both fish, but they look very different, right? They both live in water, they're both fish, but they're different because they definitely look different. And it says that a clownfish lives inside a sea anemone, and these X-ray fish that are shown in this photo are in an aquarium. Y is for yak. The Chinese word for yak means hairy cow. Can you guess why? Z is for zebras. All zebras may look alike to you, but each one has a pattern of stripes as different as a fingerprint. All right, now I want to call attention just one more thing here, and that is the question mark that you see on page 30. It says the Chinese word for yak means hairy cow. Can you guess why? Why do you think the author is asking you that question? Probably to make you think, right? Make you look at the illustration and think about why the Chinese might have called this hairy cow. Before I let you go, there are some vocabulary words that I want to go back and take a look at today. Oops, I just passed it. And I'll make sure that the volume is way up here. Yes, it is. The first one is litter. Litter. A rabbit mother may have as many as 10 babies called kits in one litter.
Litter. A group of young animals born at one time to the same mother. The mother cat had a litter of kittens. Litter.
All right, so just like cats, rabbits have litters. So it has babies. They're born one at a time, but to the same mother in that same time span, at one time to the same mother. All right. And let's see, where's our next one here? There it is. Endangered. Tigers are an endangered species.
Endangered. Being in danger. When all of one kind of living thing is in danger. Many wild animals are endangered. Endangered.
All right, well, endangered just means that they're in danger. Some animals are in danger because they're losing their habitat. So there aren't places for them to live. And that's why the author says we need to make sure that there are safe places for tigers to live. They're in danger because they don't have safe places to live right now. And there it is. The umbrella bird's call sounds like a big drum and echoes loudly through the rainforest.
Echoes. A form of the word echo. To be heard again and again. His voice echoes across the
So as you would be walking through the rainforest, you would be able to hear the call of that umbrella bird again and again, because that's what echoes means. It means that you heard it again and again. And there's one more vocabulary word. There it is. It is the word aquarium.
Aquarium. A container or building used to keep and display fish and water plants and animals. My pet fish live in an aquarium.
All right, that's a long word, and it means a container or a building that is used to keep and display fish and water plants and animals. So an aquarium, and we said that these X-ray fish are living right now inside an aquarium. They can also be found in the wild, so they're not always just in aquariums. All right, well, that was Great job. That is the end of our vocabulary words for the week. So tomorrow we'll do a vocabulary review with all of these words and words from the beginning of the week so that you can get ready to do a great job on your weekly test.